our country to help the increasing pollution in our environment to decrease.
No? Okay. Yes, from our friends from the U.S. Embassy, USAID Philippines. Ms. Nikki Fox?
I can take that one. That's a great question, and thank you for raising it. I think sort of the very first step to take is to be educated about an issue. So watching a movie like this, sharing what you've learned with your friends and your family. If people aren't aware that this is a problem, then you will never see any behavior change. And so, first of all, people have to understand sort of cycle of effects, how consumption of plastic, use of plastics affects the total ecosystem, how it ends up in the ocean. And then what you can do is think about ways to change your daily life. It's really hard to do that because we get so entrenched in our routines, but there are things that you can do where you are not using plastic bags. When you go to the store, you bring your own bag. You think about the straws that you get in your drink and refuse those. You think about carrying, a water bottle like this instead of using a plastic water bottle. These are all very little steps, but collectively they add up to a lot. You can also think about ways to affect policy change. So even though you are just students, you can talk to your leaders about legislation, changing laws that might impact the environment around you. There's been some talk here in the Philippines about a law that would ban single-use plastics, and if you feel strongly about this, if you think this can change your environment, you can talk to your elected leaders and indicate your support for policy changes.
Thanks, Ms. Nikki.
That's a really great question. So one of the things that we at the U.S. Embassy do is we work a lot with U.S. companies. A lot of those are like you said, the source of the plastic that ends up in our households and then later on in our landfills and in our oceans. A number of the big U.S. companies, particularly companies like Coca-Cola and PepsiCo, have started instituting policies where they are recycling all of the materials that they produce. So they have the capacity to take on any of those bottles that you purchase and recycle them. Pepsi and Coke are very active here in the Philippines. Coca-Cola right now is in the process of constructing a huge recycling facility in Laguna that will be able to recycle all of their materials here in the Philippines. We really encourage U.S. companies to be cognizant, to be aware of the impact of their products. There's a big movement globally to make companies responsible for their products even after a consumer has purchased them, and we are really supportive of this effort. We want companies to rethink how they manufacture things, to reduce the amount of plastics they use in the beginning, to take responsibility for the goods at the end, and to think about the whole life cycle of everything that they produce, and try to encourage more use of recycled materials as well. There are also really innovative business models for capturing that plastic at the end. We saw a little bit about it in the movie as well, but I wonder if Marian, you can talk about some of the projects that USAID is funding here in the Philippines.
Working. Thank you, Nikki. Can you hear me? Thank you for your question. So at USAID, we have a recycling project called MWRP. So that's the Municipal Waste Recycling Program. So we work with different grantees in different countries, particularly in the Philippines, in Vietnam, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka. Those were one of the top 6 polluters of ocean plastics in the ocean. That was mentioned in the movie. And so regarding the private companies that actually, we can say are now very responsible and they are very mindful of the plastics that they are producing. Actually, I'm very happy to share with you, like last December last year, the MWRP program that I mentioned USAID is implementing met with huge American companies like 10 to 12, like Pepsi and Coca-Cola and Procter & Gamble. And they are discussing ways and sharing best practices on how to reduce plastics. And the next step is actually they're looking forward to going here in the Philippines and meeting also the private entities of the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you for, I think the most important thing is the individual change people can make. I think it was raised in the film of, it's really hard to clean the whole ocean. it is easier to make individual and probably family changes. And I can say an example of my mother-in-law. She likes to use plastic everything. And it's part of her culture, and it's very hard for her to go away from that. But I think if you find someone in your family or in your circle that is very attached to plastics, you show them an alternative that is easy to change and that makes sense. Like in her case, she would package everything in Ziploc bags. They're the ones that reseal on the top. And she would put everything in them. And I just told her, you know, it's probably easier, I think they discuss that in the movie, to put things in aluminum foil. So if it has to do with any kitchen items, instead of using the plastic, using the aluminum foil. Or even if you take food to your workplace or to a camping trip, or if you take it to school with your children, it's easier to use your reusable containers that you can bring home and you can wash. So little changes like that, if they see that it's easy and they can migrate that behavior that they have, then they will start applying that behavior in other parts of their life. And people around them will start mirroring those behaviors as well. So I would encourage you to do that if you have any ideas in your life that you think it's easy to change and you can teach others around you how to change to that. You know, you can start there. And little by little, they will start migrating into bigger changes.